Shalom, my Israelite brothers and sisters. So first of all praises to our Elohim and to his only begotten son, Yahushua. So there's something I want to share with y'all, and I'm pretty sure that you all have been tracking this for a while. Something that was signed into law a couple of weeks ago by Congress. Well, it's called the H.R.1242 Act. Now I'm going to show you an article on that. But there's some points that I want to bring out, some very important points that a lot of people are not paying attention to. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to this article. So look at this article I got before you, and they're calling it the 400 Years of African American History Commissions Act. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to the word African American, because there's a point that I want to bring out. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So let me read what it says here, Section 3. This bill establishes the 400 Years of African American History Commission to develop and carry out activities throughout the United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of Africans in the English colonies at Point Comfort, Virginia, in 1619. Let's continue down further. The Commission must plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforce racial discrimination had on the United States, encourage civic, patriotic, historical, educational, artistic, religious, and economic organizations to organize and participate in anniversary activities, assist states, localities, and nonprofit organizations to further the commemoration and coordinate for the public schoolery research of the arrival of Africans in the United States and the contributions to this country. Now, here's the problem with this law. A lot of your so-called blacks will look at this and they will be like, wow, this is a great idea. Man, this is wonderful. This is nice. But saints, don't be fooled by this, because there's a lot of deception in this law, and I'm going to explain why. Now, here's the one good thing about this law that was passed by Congress. Now, the powers that be, they know who we are as a people, but they're not going to come out and publicly tell the whole world that we're the true seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're not going to do that, brothers and sisters. And this is not about no reparations either, because if you're sitting around thinking that we're going to get reparations for what our forefathers went through, you can forget about it, saints. That's not going to happen. Because everything that these heathens have done in the past, to include the passing of this new H.R. 1242, was never in the interest of so-called black people. Never. It was always for their perverted ways and for their own needs, for money, power, and control, and politics. It was never about so-called African Americans, brothers and sisters. Now, take a look at this article, because there's some points that I want to bring out. Now, notice it says 400 Years of African American History Commission Act. Now, why do you think they labeled it African American, brothers and sisters? There's a reason why they're doing this. Now, that's good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's all good that they're acknowledging our presence here. But however, you got to really take an account of the whole idea that's behind this passing of this law, especially, brothers and sisters, in a time like this, where Yah's chosen people are waking up by the tens and thousands. Now, to me, this would seem like a play to try to keep the public ignorant, to try to stop what the Most High is doing. So it's titled 400 Years of African American. Now, brothers and sisters, we know who we are. We know that we're not Africans. We know that we were sold by Africans, the Hamites, into this land. But yet, you have Congress, they still putting this title on Yah's people. Why? Because there's a purpose behind this. There's an agenda. They don't want the public to know who we are as a people, because they know that once we fully wake up and get back to these laws and commandments and statutes, all hell is going to break loose. And brothers and sisters, we're already starting to see that. So they can't stop that. So this is the point, one of the points I wanted to bring out to you. So this whole power play of the passing of this H.R. 1242 is an extreme desperate act by the powers that be, brothers and sisters, to try to keep the public still ignorant. But it's not working. Nothing they do will ever work, because they know the prophecies. They know who we are as a chosen people. And they know that we're waking up by the tens and thousands, and they know that the time of the Gentiles are here. They know that their time is just about up. So they're trying to do everything in their power to try to avert devastation on their part. Because this so-called H.R. 1242 that Congress just passed a couple of weeks ago, it's going to backfire on them, saints. And already it's starting to backfire on them, because basically all they did was just confirm who we are as the people of the Most High Yah, without publicly saying that we are the chosen seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's all they did. But they just put the title African American on it. And we're going to talk about this African American, because a lot of our people are deceived thinking that they are African Americans. They're thinking that they are originally the Africans. But I'm going to tell you where this name African American came from. So you have two men here. One is named Scipio Africanus, and the other one is named Americo Vespucci. Now, Scipio Africanus was a Roman general. Now, a lot of people think that Africa was always called Africa. That's not the case, brothers and sisters. It was never called Africa. It was always called the Mesopotamia area. If you look at an old world map, you'll see that. Well, Scipio Africanus was one of the main ones who conquered Africa. And that's who Africa was named after. It was named after this man, Scipio Africanus. It's out there. It's in the history books, brothers and sisters. But the problem is a lot of our people don't like to research for themselves. And then you had Americo Vespucci. Now, a lot of people think that Christopher Columbus was the only one who discovered America. No, brothers and sisters. America was called the Americas way before Christopher Columbus came on the scene. It was by the man named Americo Vespucci who was really responsible for discovering the Americas. So this is where you get the word African Americans from. Brothers and sisters, this thing is real. They know who we are. And this whole grand design to call us or to name us African Americans wasn't by accident. It was on purpose. You know, we went from being called niggers to coons to colored, and then finally to African Americans. Now think about this, saints. And I want y'all to think about this real good here, because I want to bring out another point. How come that they don't call Europeans European Americans? Because they wasn't always over here either. How come they don't call Asians Asian American or Asian Americans? Why is that? Because the powers that be knew exactly who we were from the first day that we got off those slave ships. They knew this. And we know that the Bible says in Deuteronomy 28:37, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether Elohim shall lead thee." And this is just the plain truth, brothers and sisters. They know, the world leaders know who we are as a people. And this is why there's been a grand design to keep not only us ignorant, but the whole world ignorant. That being said, these heathens, they know that their time is short. They know that the end of their rulership is right at hand. And so they're in extreme survival mode. They're doing all they can desperately to stop this awakening. But it's out of control, brothers and sisters. The Most High is not playing. We're starting to see destruction on an unprecedented level, brothers and sisters, and we ain't seen nothing yet. But there's a couple more points I want to bring out, and then we're going to wrap it up. Now, there was one particular bullet that I want to point out here of this H.R. 1242, where it says the Commission must plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforced racial discrimination had on the United States. Now, we know that every February they have their Black History Month. Now, brothers and sisters, we know, and as we have been waking up into this truth, we know that all that stuff has just been a lie to keep us ignorant. They want the world to believe that all the so-called African Americans are actually Africans. They want us to believe that, and this is why they allow these programs to continue. It's a deception, brothers and sisters. That's why I said earlier, don't be fooled about this H.R. 1242, because it's just a tool to continue to keep people ignorant. It's their desperate act because they're trying to stop the prophecies of the Most High. That's their whole goal. That's what they're trying to accomplish, and they know this, but they still are trying to fool the masses into making them believe that the so-called African Americans are Africans. Now, the point that I really wanted to bring out is this 400-year mark. Now, I find it very interesting how the title goes, 400 Years of African American History, Commission Act. Now, this 400 years is a big telltale sign, brothers and sisters, because this tells me, and I'm pretty sure it tells you all as well, that they know how long we've been over here in America. And they also know that we are the chosen people of the Most High Yah. Either though they're not going to come out publicly and announce that or say that to the American people. Why? Because the heathens, they know that their time is short. And the heathens, they always find a way to tell on themselves. But like I said before, a lot of your so-called blacks are not going to even get this. And even if you tell them about this, they're going to look at it like, oh, this ain't nothing. They're going to just throw it out the door like it ain't nothing. But in a sense, this is pretty huge. In the sense that they're acknowledging the 400 years and the fact that they're acknowledging that we've been over here that long. Now, I want you to pay close attention to something else that they put in this H.R. 1242. They put a date of 1619, marking the beginning of slavery. Now, I've seen some videos of some brews who did lessons on the 400-year prophecy. Now, however, here's the problem with that. Now, this date, 1619, if you were to subtract this from 2018, that would put us right at 399 years, 1 year shy of the 400-year mark, according to their terms. Which means that 2019 would mark the 400-year marking. Now, technically, brothers and sisters, if you really do your research, slavery in America began actually in the early 1500s. So, technically speaking, we would be almost 100 years over our 400-year mark. So, I've seen some people that talked about the 400-year prophecy. However, no man knows the day or hour, but we know that we are so close. We're living in the last days, and at a time like this where the Most High Yah is waking up his people by the tens of thousands, and we definitely cannot deny that we are living in the last days, the final seconds of this earth's history. But as far as predicting a 400-year prophecy and setting a date somewhere around 2019 is not accurate, brothers and sisters, just based off the fact that slavery actually began in the early 1500s. So that means that our captivity could already be ended. We just don't even realize it. The ending of our captivity is long overdue, brothers and sisters. We are over the mark on that. If you're going to be technical, and go by when slavery actually started, because really nobody really has a concrete record. So, now I'm not disproving anything about the 400-year prophecy at all, brothers and sisters. I'm happy about it, and it's like one day we get one closer to Jerusalem. So, I say bring it on. But what I'm telling you, just from research and what I've seen, brothers and sisters, we could be over, and I know we are over. We're over our 400-year mark. It's the deliverance of Yah's chosen people, brothers and sisters, is long overdue. But because the Most High is merciful and gracious, that He's allowing our people to wake up in mass numbers. But I'm going to tell you something, saints. The Most High is not going to keep waiting, and it's going to be a time where this thing's going to shut down. We are so close to the end, brothers and sisters, it's not even funny. But let me tell you what's getting ready to happen to these heathens, brothers and sisters. Turn to Ezekiel chapter 25 and verse 17. And it says, "And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am Elohim when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. Y'all hear me, saints? Now think back with the pharaohs of old. When Pharaoh refused to let the Most High's people go, it took all the plagues of Egypt to even make Pharaoh consider of letting the people go, letting the Hebrews go. They wouldn't do it because of pride. And even after that, we know the story. Pharaoh came after the chosen people with chariots. And we know the end of that. The Most High viciously destroyed them in the Red Sea. Now, fast forward to this present day. It's the same thing, brothers and sisters. The powers that be, they refuse to acknowledge who we are. They refuse it. That's why when they came out with this whole H.R.1242, they're not telling the public that we are the chosen seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But yet, they commence to try to convince the public that we're African Americans, because they know that their time is short. They don't want to leave this earth, brothers and sisters. They love this place. This is their heaven. This is their white privilege, and they don't want to give it up. Well, guess what? That's too bad, because the Most High is going to snatch it from them. And if they have to announce flat on their backs who we are as a people, then guess what? That's what's going to happen. And that's why we see all these destructions, these symbolic plagues of Egypt, which are going to increase day by day upon these heathens. Now, I don't know if y'all been paying attention lately, but for the last couple of weeks, there's been a large amount of reports of meteors striking the earth, or at least coming towards the earth. Now, I talked about earlier about, well, not in this video, but in the one I did on the act of war, the 2 false missile alerts that happened in Hawaii and one in Japan. Now, people are coming out, eyewitnesses are coming out and saying that they actually saw something blow up in the sky. Now, that's what eyewitnesses are saying. Now, it couldn't have been a missile, because if it was really a missile, somebody was shooting at us, then we would already be in World War III already. So there's something that the public is covering up, brothers and sisters, something that they don't want us to know, something that's happening out there, up in space, that they don't want us to know, and they're keeping it secret as much as they can. Now, here's what I know for sure, and we know what the word of the Most High says. Now, the Most High is getting ready to bring, and He is bringing judgment upon these heathens. And brothers and sisters, every heathen on this earth is marked. Just like the Most High marks His chosen people, the heathens are also marked. Now, we're talking about an Elohim who knows the numbers of the hairs of our head, brothers and sisters. Now, that's some powerful insight. That's a powerful Elohim. And so the Most High knows exactly where to put these meteors and where to put all this destruction at, and who it's going to affect. You know, the Most High is going to protect His people, brothers and sisters. You can believe that. If you're searching the righteousness of Yahushua and you're doing your best to keep the laws, commandments, and statutes, the Most High is going to protect you. And we're closer to the end like never before. And as far as this H.R. 1242 that Congress signed into law a couple of weeks ago, is nothing but a big power play, brothers and sisters, to keep the masses ignorant. Because the heathens are desperate. They know what's getting ready to come upon them. Turn with me to Micah chapter 5 and verse 15. And it says, "And I will execute vengeance and anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard." Have we not been seeing this, brothers and sisters? Have we not been seeing the symbolic plagues of Egypt falling upon the heathens? And it's going to get a lot better, because we're going to see things like we've never seen before. The trillions of dollars that these heathens spent in media, religion, and politics to keep us ignorant has all failed. All that money went to waste. Now, it's said that if we were to get reparations, they would have to owe us for all the years that our forefather was in slavery all the way up to this time. And that means that every single so-called black person would have to get at least $3 trillion. But saints, you know that's a pipe dream because that's not happening. Now, when the pharaohs of old, when our people came out of Egypt, the only way that they got rich was because the Most High spoiled the Egyptians, and they turned over everything, the gold, the diamonds, you name it. So brothers and sisters, when we get out of here, you best believe we're going to be spoiled. Let me tell y'all something, saints. We getting up out of this joint from rags to riches. You can believe that. So these heathens, boy, I'm rejoicing because these are some exciting times to be living in, saints. So with that being said, I just wanted to share this whole H.R.1242 and just bring out some points that that most people aren't really paying attention to. So I hope you kind of got the points that was brought out here. So, and like always, it's been an honor to serve my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters scattered to the four corners of the earth. And so with that being said, I'm going to leave you with one of my many favorite verses, probably yours by now, Revelation chapter 14 and 12. And I say shalom and stay strong.